the loss of a toddler. A makeshift memorial now stands outside the now destroyed apartment.
We've been going through pictures, and he's just smiling in every picture. He was just happy-go-lucky kid.
On Thursday morning, Kathy and Ryan Miller woke up to find a fire engulfing their home. Their son Riley was asleep in the bedroom. When the parents were unable to reach him, they went out to the back door and attempted to reach him through a separate entrance. Ryan kicked down the front door, but Louisiana police did not allow him to enter. Family members say officers tased Ryan 3 times before restraining him and then put him into handcuffs in the back of a police car. Ryan's sister-in-law does not think police handled the situation correctly.
It's just heartless. How could they be so heartless? And why they all just stood around and waited for the fire department? What kind of police officer wouldn't try to save a 3-year-old burning in a house?
According to a press release from Louisiana City Hall, there was some evidence the fire originated in an electrical outlet in the room the parents were sleeping in. The investigation into the fire continues. Megan Townley, KHQA News, Louisiana, Missouri.
Welcome back. In my third book, Easy, Sexy, Raw, I wrote about the Doomsday Project. The Doomsday Project, or the Vault, as it is also known, is an air-conditioned bunker where the Norwegians have stored heritage seeds. Billions of them. Why did they do this? Because they're afraid of what's going to happen to life as we know it due to the introduction of genetically modified foods, also known as GMOs. Well, that's their solution to this growing problem. But what can we do about it? I didn't know, so I turned to my friend Max Goldberg for answers. Hi, Max. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
So, what is a GMO? What is a genetically modified food?
GMO stands for genetically modified organism. Basically, what it is food made in a laboratory. Until the last 20 or 30 years, this is food that has never existed before in humanity. So it's made in a laboratory, and more often than not, they're inserting viruses or bacteria into these plants.
Why do they do that?
They do that because GMOs were designed to sell more chemicals. So when they spray chemicals on the plants, they don't want it to kill the plants. They want it to kill everything around it, whether it's weeds or pests, and that's why GMOs were designed.
So basically, genetically modified organisms are bug resistant.
Exactly. The plants are resistant to the chemicals.
All right, so why are they so bad for our health? You really seem to hit on that point.
Well, no long-term studies have ever been done on humans, but when you look at the studies that have been done on animals, it's pretty appalling. You're talking about liver damage and kidney damage, and when they've done fed it to hamsters, the 3rd generation of hamsters weren't able to produce babies. So that's the real safety issues, but the real big issue in our country, Carol, is that genetically modified foods are not labeled. So people do not know that they are eating genetically modified foods. Now, over 60 countries around the world require GMOs to be labeled, but the U.S. does not. And why is that? According to the Food and Water Watch, the ag biotech industry, which owns all these GMOs, has spent $572 million on campaign contributions and lobbying to make sure that they don't get labeled.
What's the ag?
The agriculture biotech industry.
Right, what is that?
So these are the companies that design these genetically modified foods, but these are the companies that also sell the farmers the chemicals. So they're not only just selling them the seeds.
They're selling them the chemicals that go along with it.
Exactly.
But you know what question pops up in my head? Aren't these people also eating this food?
Well, it's a really good question. I don't know if they're eating it or not. I would doubt that they're eating it, but they'll tell you they may be eating it. I'm not sure what they're eating, but you know and I know that people who really care about our health, we're not eating them. And so the mass population is being fed these foods, but they're not being informed that they're eating these foods.
Wow, this is heavy. So we've got this genetically modified organism that is not real food because it's made in a petri dish, that is being sold all over the world, that is coming onto the market, and they're not being labeled.
They're not
so we don't even know whether we're eating them or not.
Exactly.
I am seeing some things that come up, like my popcorn said on it, no GMOs. So some are labeling it when there's not genetically modified organisms in it. What can we do to get them to label, to let us know what we're eating?
Well, there are movements in approximately 25 states right now. The biggest one was last year in California, but the opposition, who did not want GMOs to be labeled, spent close to $50 million to defeat this measure. And the one going on right now is in Washington state. They're spending about $20 million to defeat this measure. Why are these companies spending so much money to not disclose what's in their products?
Especially since 90% of the people in the country actually want these labeled.
Exactly. Polls consistently show that more than 90% of the people want GMOs labeled. And here's the craziest thing. The U.S.
As if that wasn't crazy enough, go ahead.
Here's the U.S. Patent Office gives patents to these genetically modified
foods. So a patent on food.
Yes, they have a patent. So they say, you get a patent because it's unique and different. Yet the FDA says, no, genetically modified food is no different than non-genetically modified food. So the FDA says it's the same thing, and the U.S. Patent Office says it's unique and different. And it's one of the real injustices in our country that GMOs are not labeled.
Wow, so how can we get them labeled? What do we have to do quickly?
Well, we have to, constantly ask our politicians to support GMO labeling.
So write to your senators, write to your congressmen.
Yes.
Have your voice heard.
Absolutely. We need people involved. Continue to buy organic food because organic food, GMOs are prohibited. Buy non-GMO products. And really, people need to be involved because if we don't have our voices heard, nothing's going to change.
Max, thank you so much for coming on and pointing out this important problem that's happening. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hello, today is Tuesday, November 5th, and I am your Radio Bravery podcast host, once again, Justin Belshaw here, and we are broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, right in the heart of downtown, Northwest. Today we have a jam-packed show for you, a few special reports, lots of news to cover. We're in a very, very dire time right now for basically the future of our republic as we know it. I am very, very energized as I'm drinking my non-GMO verified yerba mate. And I will just start to get to the news right now. That was Rage Against the Machine bringing us in with The Ghost of Tom Joad. Great album there, Renegades. And yeah, so this broadcast today on this Tuesday edition is going to start off with a couple special reports. First off being a article entitled Police Taser Father Trying to Rescue His Son from a Fire. And that goes into basically the fact that the police officers tased this man 3 times while trying to enter his house to save his son, who was burning alive in his bed. This is basically where we're at now. You can't make your own choices. The state and the police will make the choice for you that your son is dead and burning. And there's nothing you can do about it, even though he maybe could have done something about it. Who knows? But that's his choice to make. Next up, as far as special reports, there will be a Fox News GMO report, which is actually very, very truthful, very honest, very factual, very hard-hitting. It's when I saw the article with the video attached to it on InfoWars, it was the first word on there was shock. Fox News reports on GMOs, and it was a shock. It is a great shock, and it's a great step forward. It's a smaller show on Fox News, but it definitely is still shedding some light that hasn't been shed before. So that report is coming up as well. And then at the very end of this broadcast, I have a quick, short little walking report that I did while walking down the street. Just a little, just a little rant about some things that I was thinking of as far as creativity and productivity in people. But yeah, so that's about the gist of the broadcast. Moving on, let's get to the beginning of our news here. First article I got here was brought to light by Mike Adams when I was watching a little mini documentary he made. It's about 44 minutes long, and it's called The God Within. It's all about the quote-unquote God gene, different things that are going on in the country, and as far as science, has to do with Stephen Hawking, his theories. It's very, very interesting. It's very short. I'm sure you can find it for free on YouTube. It's also for free if you go and look at naturalnews.com. So that's called The God Within. But anyway, that's what brought to light this subject here, which is this is an article here entitled "Bye Bye Blackbird, USDA Admits to Poisoning Birds," and it goes on to talk about USDA's Operation Bye Bye Blackbird. Through Bye Bye Blackbird, the USDA has killed a spreadsheet to killed over 4 million birds in the last several years, and has a spreadsheet to brag about how many birds and other wildlife they've poisoned. The USDA says they're using DRC Directive 1339 to poison the birds to keep them from defecating in feed meal on farms. Why can't these farmers cover their own feed meal rather than have the USDA poison wildlife and birds? That's a good question. Carol Bannerman of USDA Wildlife Services ridiculously claimed the bird kill was also to protect human health. We're doing it to address, in this case, agricultural damage as well as the potential for human health and safety issues, she said. That's just a lie, of course. In what universe do starlings pose a threat to human health and safety? I do not know, but it is not this universe. So now, moving on to the lovely spreadsheet here. This goes on. I only printed the first 4 pages, but I believe there were about 10 or 14 pages. But just to give you a few little statistics, it has here different categories, including intentional/unintentional, number of states involved, killed/euthanized, removed/destroyed, freed, released, relocated, and dispersed. And so yeah, let's just go over a few of these statistics here. Let's see. Badgers, burrow and den, 391 killed, 178 euthanized. Black bears, 13 states involved, all intentional, and 436 killed/euthanized. That's 436 killed, dead, murdered black bears in 13 different states. Now let's get to the bigger numbers here. Beavers in 39 different states, 27,288 beavers were killed in 39 states. And this is for 2009, just so you know. Beavers, wow. 27,000 beavers were killed in 39 states. Brewers blackbirds, 4,609 were killed in 7 states intentionally. Red-winged blackbirds, 965,889 were killed in 30 states intentionally. Let's see here. Blackbirds, mixed species, Z blackbirds, 22,023 states were killed intentionally. Bobcats, 1,732 in 20 states were killed intentionally. Let's see here. Northern cardinals, 567 in 3 states were killed intentionally. Red-crested cardinals, 4,013 in 1 state were killed intentionally. 1 state. I'd love to know what state that is. 1,332 feral or free-range cats were killed in 35 states. 1,991 chickens, feral or free-ranging, were killed intentionally in 4 states. 4,565 American coots were killed in 19 states intentionally. Let's see here. Well, that's just a, quick little rundown of what the USDA is doing for our own good. It's not like badgers and beavers and cardinals and blackbirds were here before people. It's not like they, we lived amongst them for hundreds of thousands of years or anything like that. We better start killing them now just to save ourselves. Sounds about right. Alright, next up, this was kind of a shocking headline. I absolutely felt compelled to cover this, and reason being is because I can see something like this happening certainly soon enough under Obamacare. This is an article from the Washington Post. Belgium considering unprecedented law to grant euthanasia for children dementia patients. It goes on to say, should children have the right to ask for their own deaths? Ah, yes, they should. Children should be able to ask to be killed. They know what's best. Let the children decide on their own. In Belgium, where euthanasia is now legal for people over the age of 18, the government is considering extending it to children, something that no other country has ever done. The same bill would offer the right to die to adults with early dementia. Advocates argue that euthanasia for children with the consent of their parents is necessary to give families an option in a desperately painful situation. But opponents have questioned whether children can reasonably decide to end their own lives or not. Belgium is already a euthanasia pioneer. It legalized the practice for adults in 2002. In the last decade, the number of reported cases per year has risen from 235 deaths in 2003 to 1,432 in 2012. So just in 10 years, the average person who commits suicide legally in Belgium has gone from 235 to 1,432. We're obviously doing good here. Doctors typically give patients a powerful sedative before injecting another drug to stop their heart. Now, I don't know. As much as I, am an advocate for people making their own free decisions, I can understand if you are on your deathbed and you are going to die and you want to go out on your own terms. I can't say myself that that's something that I would do, but, sure. You should be able to do what you like, but I don't know if that should apply for children. I don't know if a child is mentally developed enough or emotionally developed enough to be able to make that decision on their own. Moving on. This is an article from WorldNet Daily, and this is going into, this reminds me, I meant to do an actual, I will actually add another special report at the end of this broadcast as well, which is a short little video clip from, I believe, 1990, definitely the early 90s. It was a 2020 special called Death Education in the Class. And this goes to show the length of time. This article was written in 1999 by WorldNet Daily. It's entitled Death Education at Columbine High. And basically, this is just a viewpoint article. I'm not going to go over this as much as I'm going to show the video for you of what death education actually is. I believe I've read a statistic that said somewhere near 30% of classrooms in America are currently doing this death education program, which has actually been proven to increase suicides and increase curiosity and death for young kids. So this is a program that was going on at Columbine High School when the shooting took place. And as far as I know, is still going on at that high school today. But we'll have a special report at the end of the broadcast that actually explains a little more about what that is and how elementary school children are being told to get inside coffins and lay inside there and see inside funeral homes and basically just get a little more acquainted with death. That sounds lovely for your children, doesn't it? Death education. Totally loving. Next up, this is an article by Adam Goldenberg. It's a Reuters article, and it is entitled simply, Canada Has Death Panels. We've been going over these lawyer name games, as Alex Jones hits it right on the bat. These are lawyers, these are ex-lawyers, these are filthy loophole lawyers who like to do anything they can to sidestep around as many laws as they can, and they like to play word games with you, and so when you hear someone say, there are no death panels, well, then explain to them that death panels are also entitled bioethics boards. Okay, so just because it has a more scary name to it, that it's been nicknamed and dubbed and is more popularly known as death panels, does not mean it doesn't exist. You can find plenty on bioethics boards, which are in Obamacare and which Canada has today. And that's basically what this article goes on to talk about, is how they have bioethics boards that basically will decide for you if you are healthy enough or if you have a chance enough of surviving or of getting, you know, better or improving, or if you're a weak link and older and should be let down easily. So it basically, the way Alex Jones has broken it down many times is, if you have a hurt knee, will they give you a cane or will they spend money on knee surgery? Which is going to be easier for them? That's what these bioethics boards will decide, and that also goes as far as life extending policies like a life support machine, whether you should have that equipment or not. Next up, Obama uses executive order in sweeping takeover of nation's climate change policies. Through the stroke of a pen, President Obama on Friday used his executive powers to elevate and take control of climate change policies in an attempt to streamline sustainability initiatives and potentially skirt legislative oversight and push a federal agenda on the states. The executive order establishes a task force of state and local officials to advise the administration on how to respond to severe storms, wildfires, droughts, and other potential impacts of climate change. The task force includes governors of 7 states, specifically chosen by yours truly, Barry Soetoro, all Democrats, and the Republican governor of Guam, a U.S. territory. 14 mayors and 2 other local leaders also will serve on the task force. But all but 3 of those appointed are Democrats. Shocker! The task force will look at federal money spent on roads, bridges, flood control, and other projects. It ultimately will recommend how structures can be made more resilient to the effects of climate change, such as rising sea levels and warming temperatures. We're going to need to get prepared, and that's why this plan will also protect critical sectors of our economy and prepare the United States for impacts of climate change that we cannot avoid, Obama said last June. States and cities across the country are already taking it upon themselves to get ready, and we'll partner with the communities seeking help to prepare for droughts and floods, reduce the risk of wildfires, protect the dunes and wetlands that pull double duty as green space and as natural storm barriers. But as a, let's see... The devil is in the details, a former senior government official said to FoxNews.com earlier this month, referring to a recently released study that proposed the streamlining between federal and state agencies. Who gets to decide what sustainability is or what its outcome means? The chair of the study, Thomas Graydale, a professor of chemical engineering, geology, and geophysics, and currently head of the Center for Industrial Ecology at Yale University, said at the time of its release that the study provides encouragement for parts of the government to get together on projects of concern. There is no formula of how it all works out. Officials for the EPA released a statement on Friday afternoon praising the order, saying it will be vital in their attempts to help local level communities adapt to a changing climate. But critics say the order has the potential to do much more. So here's where it gets really interesting. Critics say it has the potential to do much more, including hold back money to communities unless they meet new standards on various items and agendas set by the federal government. For example, using new policies that will encourage communities to rebuild to pre-disaster standards instead of stronger ones. A possible mandate to bring sweeping new changes to land use and resource policies. That could be very crucial to builders everywhere. More control and refocus of climate change data and use of it to push a new agenda into every priority of the federal government. Create the need for a new internal organization for coordination efforts during a government sequestration and possible future showdowns. The task force includes Governors Jerry Brown of California, Jay Inslee of Washington, and Neil Abercrombie of Hawaii, as well as Delaware Governor Jack Markle, Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin, and Illinois Governor Pat Quinn. The panel also includes several big city mayors, including Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter, and Houston Mayor Ennis Parker, all three Democrats. The task force builds on efforts Obama announced for his climate action plan last June, which will include first ever limits on climate pollution and from new and existing power plants. I don't know, this all kind of sounds good on paper, a little bit of it, but these worries are usually always worries for a reason, and Obama has not really given us a reason to trust him yet. And I really highly doubt he will. So let's keep an eye on those recent changing climate change policies. They're definitely going to affect us at some point. Next up, last year President Obama reportedly told his aides that he's really good at killing people. Aww, what a sweetie. This hopefully will not go over well for the dumbass Nobel Peace Prize loser. I don't know how this guy possibly could be brought up on a Nobel Peace Prize. Absolutely insane. According to the book Double Down, in which journalists Mark Halperin and John Hilleman chronicle the 2012 presidential election, President Barack Obama told his aides that he's really good at killing people while discussing drone strikes. Peter Hamby at the Washington Post reported the nugget in his review of the book, which you can find at WashingtonPost.com. I believe the article is Review Double Down on the 2012 Election by Mark Halperin and John Hilleman. The claim by the Commander-in-Chief is as indisputable as it is grim. Obama oversaw the 2009 surge. Afghanistan had 145 Predator drone strikes. His administration also expanded the drone war. There have been 326 drone strikes, 93 in Pakistan, 93 in Yemen, and several in Somalia, compared to the 52 total during the Bush administration. So This is more than triple the amount of drone strikes that Bush even ever had in mind, and this guy is an absolute murderer. He needs to be held accountable for his war crimes, just like Henry Kissinger needs to be held accountable, just like Mitt Romney, John McCain. All you warmongers all need to be held accountable for this. 326 drone strikes in Afghanistan, mainly all killing civilians. This is absolutely wrong, absolutely unheard of in our country before the Obama, stupid Barry Soetoro bullshit administration. It's absolutely wrong. This is absolutely an authoritarian state. This is absolutely a tyrant running our country right now. We need to have this guy brought up on war crimes immediately. My apologies for the break there. Had some lovely technical difficulties with my lovely iPhone, so that's always great. So yeah, we'll have a nice little weird break there in the middle of the broadcast. Sorry about that. But yeah, moving along. This is the article here, just to give you a face and a name. Storyleak.com actually broke this story. Shock, Fox News airs bombshell report on GMO food. And just wanted to give props to Max Goldberg and A Healthy You and Carol Alt. Good job, Carol Alt. I commend you for actually bringing a little bit of truth there to Fox News. That was the report that you saw at the beginning of the broadcast there. And just a reminder, you know, that is one of the most important subjects that we can possibly talk about today. If you know anybody who isn't informed on what a GMO is, what a genetically modified, anything genetically altered, what a GM, any of that, what Monsanto is, start showing them videos, show them that video, that Fox News report. You can find that on YouTube. You can also email me, RadioBravery@gmail.com. You can comment or contact me on YouTube.com/RadioBravery. Or I also have a Facebook page now as well, which is Facebook.com/RadioBraveryNews. You can contact me, Justin Belshaw, on any of those sites, and I would love to send you that Fox News GMO report so you can get it out to people, or any other special reports or any other documentaries that you're interested in. I have quite a few of them, and all you need to do is send me your name and address, or send me your phone. We'll text, call, get in contact, we can meet up, whatever it is. I would love to burn you a free copy of any documentary you're interested in checking out. And if you want a list of those, most of the documentaries I have, there are some few others as well that I've added since. But there's a list on Facebook.com/Oregon Freethinkers. And on the About section at that page there, which is one of my activist pages, you can find all the DVDs that I will burn you for free. So yeah, check that out. Please help spread this information. Knowledge is the most powerful weapon that you have, so use your mind. There's a war on for it right now. So moving on, this is an article from ZeroHedge.com. Edward Snowden releases a manifesto for the truth. And I'm not sure 100% if this is actually a relevant part of the story or not, but when I went actually to the original release of the 5-paragraph manifesto that Edward Snowden released, it was originally published in Germany in a German website, all in German. And if you have Google Chrome at all, then you'll know that when you go to a German website, it'll ask you on the toolbar or any other language written website, it will ask you, would you like Google Chrome to translate it for you? And you know, usually I say yes, because it's never been a problem translating it to English. I'm not sure if there's something against this website or Germany, or maybe it was just a malfunction with Google Chrome, but for some reason when I go to read the original Manifesto for Truth by Edward Snowden, it will not let you translate it into English at all. So that's kind of odd, but I just thought I'd, throw that in there. But luckily, Zero Hedge decided to get it all published themselves. And so now I'm going to read the short 5-paragraph Manifesto for Truth by Edward Snowden. It's very important. He hits on some really, really good subject points here. He's such a smart dude. So here it is. In a very short time, the world has learned much about unaccountable secret agencies and about sometimes illegal surveillance programs. Sometimes the agencies even deliberately try to hide their surveillance of high officials or the public. While the NSA and GCHQ seem to be the worst offenders, this is what the currently available documents suggest. We must not forget that mass surveillance is a global problem in need of global solutions. Such programs are not only a threat to privacy, they also threaten freedom of speech and open societies. The existence of spy technology should not determine policy. We have a moral duty to ensure that our laws and values limit monitoring programs and protect human rights. Society can only understand and control these problems through an open, respectful, and informed debate. At first, governments, feeling embarrassed by the revelations of mass surveillance, initiated an unprecedented campaign of persecution to suppress this debate. They intimidated journalists and criminalized publishing the truth. At this point, the public was not yet able to evaluate the benefits of the revelations. They relied on their governments to decide correctly. Today, we know that this was a mistake, and that such action does not serve the public interest. The debate which they wanted to prevent will now take place in countries around the world. And instead of doing harm, the societal benefits of this new public knowledge is now clear, since reforms are now proposed in the form of increased oversight and new legislation. Citizens have to fight suppression of information on matters of vital public importance. To tell the truth is not a crime. I commend you, Edward Snowden. Good job. Great job. That's a true patriot right there. Moving on, this is an article entitled Cops Using Sensors to Pick Up Gunshot Sounds in 2 Locations on South and West Sides. This is a Chicago Tribune article, and it basically, this is an article from October 26th of last year, so it's about 1 year and 2 months ago, and it goes on to say the police department began using a gunshot detection technology early last month, which is September of 2012, so about 1 year and a couple months now, in 2 1.5 square mile areas to try to better pinpoint the locations of gunshots. I always thought it was a very interesting question to ask. Have you ever heard of somebody who's fired a gunshot actually staying around? So yes, you might be able to pinpoint where the gunshot comes from, but the perpetrator doubtfully will still be there. So I'm not sure if I see exactly how this will help, but I do know it is a very, very high-def microphone which covers a 1.5 square mile radius and would be perfect for more mass surveillance. So again, with the Edward Snowden Manifesto for Truth we just went over, this is something that is very important to pay attention to, because although it seems to have good intentions, most things do that open Pandora's box for evil to get in. And we just need to remember that this technology last year was in more than 70 cities, including Gary, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis, and and that's up from 45 cities 2 years ago. And that's statistics from Ralph Clark, the president and CEO of SST, the ShotSpotter system. Basically, the technology can pinpoint the location of gunfire within 5 to 10 feet. So we need to keep an eye on this and make sure that this technology does not get into the wrong hands or is not abused by the wrong hands. Last up, I saved this article for last purposefully because it is a very, very touchy subject for me, and I'm sure it will be for you as well. But unfortunately, I do believe that it needs to be covered. This is one of the most heartbreaking and tough things to hear and to deal with. So I know that it's not something that everybody wants to hear and talk about, but it needs to be talked about and it needs to be stopped because it's not okay. This article is entitled "Pro-Life Group Says Texas Abortionists Killed Live-Born Babies." Goes on to say, a Texas-based pro-life group is drawing attention to late-term abortionists who has committed crimes it charges that are as horrific as those as the convicted murderer Kermit Gosnell, who I covered earlier in a broadcast a few months ago, a Philadelphia abortionist serving a life sentence now for killing babies who were born alive at his House of Horrors clinic. According to those who worked at the clinic, Gosnell and a handful of his associates may have murdered hundreds of babies during the decades the clinic was open by delivering them alive and plunging surgical scissors into the newborns' necks and snipping their spinal cords. In the case of Houston abortionist Douglas Carpin, Texas-based Life Dynamics employee, says that his clinic has recounted similar stories of horrific child murders. As reported by the New American in May, Life Dynamics recorded an interview available on YouTube with 3 former employees at Carpin's Houston area clinic in which they charged that Carpin killed babies who were born alive. In the interview, the women who worked at Aaron Women's Clinic told of regular late-term abortions in which babies came out alive and were killed by Dr. Carpin either by snipping the spinal cord or by inserting an instrument into the soft spot of the baby's head. In other instances, one employee said Carpin twisted the heads off of live babies with his bare hands. In her testimony, Deborah Edge, who worked for Carpin for some 15 years before leaving in 2011, recalled that when the physician did abortions at 20 weeks or more, most of the time the fetus would come completely out before he cut the spinal cord, or he introduced one of the instruments into the soft spot of the fetus in order to kill the fetus. She added that much of the time we would see him where the fetus would come completely out and of course the fetus would still be alive. She recalled that every morning if we had 20-something patients and of course 10 or 12 or 15 patients would be large procedures, and out of those large procedures I'm pretty sure that I was seeing at least 3 or 4 fetuses that were completely delivered in some way or another, most of them alive. Edge described newborns emerging from the womb, moving and breathing before being killed, and told of other instances in which the doctor delivered babies feet first with their toes wiggling until he stabbed them with surgical scissors, at which time the toes would suddenly spread open before going limp. There were also times, Edge said, when Carpin would kill a baby by twisting the head off of the neck. And this is not okay. Just to state on the record, I am not anti-abortion. I am very anti-Planned Parenthood. I don't believe that federal funding should be given for this type of thing. I absolutely think the states should have the right to vote on their own decision for each state, and the states should have the power. I also think that this technology is there for a reason, and I think that for rape victims and for young really young, innocent girls who shouldn't be having children now. You know, it is an option that should be there for certain things. But the difference is we should not make it regular, and we shouldn't make it okay and normal. I know it's awful, and I wouldn't want any girl or woman to have to go through an abortion. It's awful. But it's not supposed to be easy. The easier you make it, the more normal it is, and the more okay it is, and the more popular it can get. I mean, we don't want that, you know. It's hard for a reason, because it's a hard choice to make, and, you know, something bad happened in your life. Life's not always easy, but again, I don't think that the right should be completely taken away. I just think that it should be regulated better, and I think it should be done by hospital physicians who actually know what they're doing and aren't plunging scissors into the throats of newborn babies. With that being said, because I want this to stop, that's why I'm covering this, and because I want to wake people up that this is happening and there is proof, we need to cover it, and I need to show an image, 1 out of 4 of the images that were released with this article. So I'm going to give you a clear warning right now. This is graphic for an image, and I know you're not going to want to see it. I don't want to see it either, but we need to get this information out and make sure this doesn't happen again. So this is one of the pictures taken by one of the clinic workers of a baby, newborn, who had its throat cut out by scissors. I know it's awful and I know it's disturbing, but we need to make sure that this does not go on. It's not okay. This is a very, very, very inhumane thing, and I love humans. I love all people equally. I love diversity. I love equality. We need to stop focusing on our differences, and we need to fight for the same things we all believe in. Love, honesty, truth, good people, babies, women, children, elderly people. These are people who need to be taken care of. We need to take care of these people. If you're a real man, you will stand up to this type of evil and murder and bullshit. You will stand up and say something and not let it go on anymore. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this broadcast. That's why I get angry. That's why I can't go out to the bar and talk about sports or something normal. That's why I ruin normal times of hanging out with my girlfriend and her friends. That's why I'm so negative so often, and people get so angry at me, and I get in arguments with people so often. It's because it gets to me, because I care, and I can't stop caring, because I've gotten past the point of no return. As Immortal Technique said, this is the point of no return. This is the point of no return. We are here. You can't go back. We need to fight for our freedom and for our rights. Because while they're being infringed upon, they will soon be gone. They are also being taken away. That's what infringement is. That's what your rights are. They are given to you. You own them. You have them. They are yours. If you let them take them away, you will never get them back. Fight for them while you have them. Fight for your rights while you have them. Fight for babies and women and children while you can. Because there could be a time when you don't have that choice anymore, and you will regret it. That's why I'm here. Is because I want everyone to survive. I want everyone to feel love and good and happiness. So, I'm ending this broadcast with a couple special reports, and I'll see you again soon. But we need to start taking this seriously. I'm Justin Belshaw, and I'm just a simple bartender and server trying to make a difference through sitting here at a desk and talking about these things. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but I can't stop, and I've got to keep doing more, and I hope that you can join me soon. Please email me for a free DVD. You can go hand it out to your friends, hand it out to your family, wake people up. Let's get this revolution moving. Like I said, and like many have said before, no country is more than 3 meals. No country is more than 3 meals away from revolution. Remember that. I'm Justin Belshaw. This is Radio Bravery. Find your bravery. Stay true and spread truth, because truth is growing, and so is the revolution. You are the resistance. We are the resistance. We can do this, and we can win this. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great day.
Here we are well into September, and by now many kids have settled back into school. But would it surprise you to know that this fall, your youngster may take a field trip to a funeral home, visit a mortuary where cadavers are laid out for embalming? It can happen. Welcome to the startling, the shocking death education.
Loosely defined, death education is supposed to prepare young people for coping with death. Most schools make it part of a health class, but some devote an entire course to the subject, and as Tom Jarrell shows us, it seems there can be unexpected consequences. We begin by following a high school class on a death education field trip.
These students from Paint Branch High School near Washington, D.C. have chosen to be part of a rather unorthodox field trip. They have entered the embalming room at the Rapp Funeral Home.
Ladies and gentlemen, today our teacher will be a dead person. Our teacher will tell us something about death. Our death, everybody's death. His name is Stanley. Stanley died relatively young.
Bill Went, a priest at Maryland's St. Francis Center, is paid to conduct this tour for about 400 students a year.
This is Stanley. We're not going to show his face. He's given his skin, he's given bone, he's given bone marrow, he's given eyes. He's helped a lot of people.
This group's teacher, Phil Campbell, hopes that the stark, shocking reality of death will convince them of the importance of life. Some of the students are repulsed by the experience.
This skin is real important.
Although 1 out of every 10 of our public schools include death education, its emotional impact on students is still unknown. Funeral director Richard Rapp takes a matter-of-fact approach.
When death is sudden and they want to find out exactly why the death occurred, you're given an autopsy. So he's got some incisions here that are not part of what he gave to help somebody else.
Impressionable young minds are curious about the subject of death and how they are taught as a topic of controversy. Educators argue that today's teens are increasingly preoccupied with death. It has invaded their young lives in the form of auto accidents, crime, and teen suicide.
You see here where they've taken his eyes, but they've put the plastic caps on to show him.
Death education is introduced as early as kindergarten, and by the time they're 18, these 5th graders will have witnessed 32,000 murders on television. So to give them a more realistic view of death, this class in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, is going to their local funeral parlor to visit the casket showroom.
They will see that person in this casket, and it's very important for them to say goodbye to that person. This is really accepting that what they have to do is select a casket that can be...
Funeral director Michelle Hecker's tour, against a backdrop of coffins, quickly becomes a probing of the children's deepest emotional concerns.
My great uncle died. Something really bad happened to him, and they had to have the casket closed, and they had to have a picture of him on top of it because, you know, you wouldn't want to see them all messed up and things like that.
When he was laying in the casket, I saw a fly, you know, it was flying around there, and that sort of bothered me. But then I pictured him sort of swatting at it, you know, but I thought he'd wake up, you know, and it sort of hurt me to see him not wake up. If I want to die, I like this one.
Then the children are encouraged to feel the plush, soft, final resting place inside the coffins.
I think it's probably helpful for them to understand what caskets are before they actually have to deal with a death. Then when they have to deal with it, they have an understanding about it.
Death education has found its way into many classrooms in a variety of ways.
Hello, Justin Belshaw here. It's Saturday, November 2nd, and I'm just taking a nice walk here out in the lovely, freshly rained weather of Portland, Oregon. I just wanted to talk about a couple thoughts I had here off the top of my head. One of them is I missed the time when it happened where it became unpopular to be working on your car yourself. You used to so much more often see hoods of cars propped open on the sides of the road, and guys changing their own oil, or, you know, doing just little tune-ups and handy jobs here and there. It makes me think of one of my good friends, Drew, and how he's always striving to learn more. And it's sad that we've gotten to such a stage where people don't appreciate knowledge, and they appreciate having someone be able to do everything for them. And we need to start empowering ourselves more with knowledge of all kinds of different things. Don't limit yourself to one category. Don't limit yourself to a stereotype. Appreciate knowledge as the most powerful weapon you can have, and learn how to do it yourself. Do more yourself. Learn different types of things you wouldn't learn how to do, like build a bookshelf. I just went out and fixed my own toilet handle, not because I don't have a maintenance guy who can do it for me, but because I can do it myself. Simple, cheap, and it's another piece of knowledge that I can hold on to and use forever. So just a little mini report here. A beautiful day out, so think about that. A little food for thought. But yeah, do it yourself. Be a handy person, you know, learn more. Knowledge is power. This is Justin Belshaw, Radio Bravery.